And many people think for some reason that if they just choose the right partner and they love each other, then it's going to be fine.
So why do some couples lose their spark?
Oh, I like this one. This is actually the most common question I get. And the first thing is that people cannot lose the spark if they ever had it. It's stored in our brain system, our emotional brain system. What people have to learn is they have to learn to nurture it and protect it and use it. And also create really good memories in the beginning. So people don't really lose their spark, they just don't protect it and take care of it.
So what does that look like? Like if you're working with someone and you want them to bring it back, what do you do?
Well, first of all, you have to make sure there's nobody else that they've taken and gotten another spark with, because you can't work with two sparks at the same time, which is usually when people are asking that question in my experience. So if that hasn't happened, it's just a question of how much bonding, how much sex, how much time do they spend together, how often do they affirm that they really love the other person, that this is the person they chose, and they really want to be with them.
I like that you use the word cultivate, because I like to think about a relationship like a garden. Like you have to tend to it, you have to grow it, you have to make it blossom. And many people think for some reason that if they just choose the right partner and they love each other, then it's going to be fine. But this is like putting like an automatic irrigation on your garden and never going back to it again. So you have to do it on a daily basis. You have to make sure that you have the right skills, you have the right knowledge, and that you're putting something into the relationship that make it work.
It's almost like people think they can put their relationship on hold for a few years.
Right, exactly.
So you leave it on hold, and then you turn towards it, and somehow it seems to have evaporated. The research really says that what happens with the erosion of bonds is that people stop turning towards each other and giving each other emotional support and that's creating that sense of emotional connection. And then they just start getting into conflict. It's like the conflict is the inflammation that comes from this sort of distance that happens in the relationship, and everybody just assuming the relationship is there and not paying any attention to it.
I think also sometimes people need to go back to the way they felt about each other and what they did during their courtship when they first met. I think there has to be a good amount of time spent together, but also time apart. I think it's nice to miss your partner or have the person go do some activities or a hobby or an interest that they really like, and then they come back and they talk to you about it, and you think that they're interesting. It's not just like their identities have completely merged. And I think it's a combination.
The other thing about that one that fascinates me is that when people talk about spending time together, sometimes if you listen to it, I mean, what they're doing is they're focusing on tasks or activities. They're saying things like, well, we spent time together because we talked about what we were going to do with which school the kids were going to go into.
Right.
And when you're courting somebody, spending time together means that you put your exclusive attention on them. You're kind of emotionally present with them, right? And you just focus on them. So you say things like, how are you feeling about that? Or what's happening for you with this? Or I thought it was wonderful that you did that. Then somehow we get to a place in our lives where we say, we did have a long talk. We had a long talk about what school Jimmy's going to go to, and are you going to take that contract, and shall we put a new piece on the house? And somehow it all becomes about business rather than about that I'm your special one.
Well, the emotional bond is so important to couples that,
Yes.
when they meet and they fall in love and there's excitement and the sexual attraction and they get together and they start to become sexual, then they start to bond.
Yes.
Then as the bond grows, then they become more intimate. So it kind of unravels the same way as people don't spend time, they're not intimate, the emotional bond is weakening, then they stop having sex. And when that happens, it's like, what do you do next? And so it's really, because you have to talk about how much sexual chemistry did they have in the beginning. Well, it was great, but nothing's happening now. And so you have to walk them through all those parts.
And the fascinating thing about that is I feel like we live in a society that thinks that sexual chemistry should just kind of be there in the room like electricity, when there's no emotional connection at all. It's like there's no attunement happening. You're not actually meeting to create a spark. There's no attunement happening, but people say, well, I've lost the chemistry, I've fallen out of love. Well, if you don't turn towards somebody and start dancing with them and listen to the music, yeah, you don't feel it. You don't feel anything. You don't feel anything. Why would you feel anything? There's no connection happening.
So it sounds like the spark is never really gone. That if couples take the opportunity to look inside themselves, to give before they just expect their partner to do it, have a little cuddle time, get connected again, that they can really bring the spark back.